Recorded live from the mats of Radical MMA in New York City. The Martial Culture Podcast. Your source for in-depth combat sports and martial arts insights with Coach Rene and Matt Peters. Ring the bell and let's get it on.
Welcome back to the Martial Culture Podcast. Rene is back and refreshed from a nice long vacation across the pond, as they say.
It was across the pond. I went to England and also to Paris, taking my wife there for her first time. I'd been there before, but she had not. And I hadn't been there for a long time. The last time I was there was 1980s. So it was very different too. But saw some of the sights, had some fun. Saw Stonehenge again, which was like, for me, awesome. The highlight. Oh, it's like crazy good. It was cool. It was so cool. There's like another ruin nearby, which I'm blank on the name, but I'll look it up in a second. But it was actually bigger than Stonehenge, not well known, and it's not far. And I'll tell you in 1 second. But it's like really, really cool. We didn't get to go there, but my next trip, I'm absolutely 100% going to go there. It was recommended by someone who lived in England. He lives in England, and he also listens to the show. So, Finn, thank you for your advice. Unfortunately, we weren't able to make it over, but still, Stonehenge was absolutely fantastic. It was like one of those moments you just kind of don't forget. It was amazing. And one thing I was really cool was that, like, the crowd control. A lot of times you go to places, and that happened in Japan a lot. You go to this like amazing place, like there's this place called Kinkakuji Temple in Japan. It's the Golden Temple. It's all amazing. Blah blah blah. If you go there, there's like 10,000 tourists, and they just completely ruin it. Mm-hmm. You're like, whatever Zen moment was supposed to happen here is not happening, and they ruin it. But with Stonehenge, they had this really good system. So first, we got to the area, and there's this like waiting zone, like about half a mile away. So everybody waits there. It's like a little museum, and they hang out. There's some food there, and everybody's chill. Then you have to take their little bus, which is all like electric too. It's not polluting the environment or anything. Take this small little bus to this, very small path to Stonehenge, and they let you off, and they control the crowd, and then you can go around. You can't actually touch it anymore. When I went there when I was a kid, you could actually get really close, but too many people like did graffiti on it and did terrible things. But you kind of walked around it, and you got to see it, and you could walk through the brushes, because Stonehenge, people don't realize there's actually a thing called Woodhenge nearby, which was like another, it's not there anymore because it's made of wood, but it's like another part of the whole complex. And there's little, they dug different patterns into the earth, kind of like the Nazca lines or something. I don't know. But, so you can see this, you can walk around the whole area, and it's just really, really cool. And they didn't ruin it at all. It was just nice. It was really, really fun. I was blown away. So it was great. And then we went to, tons of museums, and when we were in Paris, we just hit so many interesting places. The Louvre, we saw the Mona Lisa, and it was great. But one of the things I really like to see is actually, some people don't know that there's this thing called Elgin marbles. Have you ever heard of them? There's this guy like Lord Elgin. Have you heard of it?
Like marbles you play marbles with?
No, things made of marble, yes,
okay.
But same thing,
Sure.
right? But he basically was an ambassador to the Ottoman Empire at the, like 100 years ago, right? And he realized that all these Greek statues in the Parthenon and things like that were kind of falling apart. So he's like, I'm going to take him back to England, which is like kind of problematic. Mm-hmm. But his goal was ostensibly to keep them from being destroyed. So the British Museum has the largest collection of ancient Greek sculpture and art of any place in the world outside of Greece. And it was so cool because you saw all this like ancient, right from the top of the Parthenon and things like that. And guess what? There's tons of sculpture of guys doing combat, like pancration and fighting. And, I'm looking at them, I'm seeing all these positions that we do today that are like supposedly modern. And I'm like, look at that. And so a side thing for me, because of course I can't think about anything other than martial arts. A side thing is whenever I look at art or sculpture or something historic, I always like to look at the ones that they depict fighting, and to see the poses and what. And so all the trip kind of inspired me. That trip to the British Museum, and then when we went to Paris, we were doing all this sculpture, and I'm seeing so many guys showing positions of combat. And you look at the structures of the body that the sculpture produces, and they're 100% accurate in terms of combat relevance. It was amazing. It was one where this is more French. We saw it in the Museum d'Orsay, and there was one. I'll post a picture of it. But the guy's doing the most perfect knee on the belly position control, this like the same way Cain Velasquez did it to Brock Lesnar, and he's just doing there, and he's hitting, and he has a sword, but it's the same position. It was Cain Velasquez, Brock Lesnar, 5,000 years ago. You know,
awesome.
like I actually wasn't in the museum, it was somewhere else.
Did your wife get nervous that you were studying the male form and all these pictures?
No, she did not, because she was saying the same. You know, she trains too, and she's like, oh my god, this is so interesting, and she's like, oh, you know, when we were looking at one, she's like, his balance a little off on that one. His knee positioning is off. I'm like, you know, you're actually right. His knee position is
the perfect woman.
Yeah, right. I know. She is the perfect woman. Yes, most of the time. No, all the time, absolutely all the time, no question. So yeah, so it was a great time. And while we were in France, I actually got to do some training with some French MMA fighters, and I did a little mini seminar there, and they were absolutely amazing. And it was just fantastic. And then when I was in London, I met my friend Jalal, and he listens to the podcast, so I'm going to say hi. And we did some leg lock oriented training because he was interested in doing that. And we just had a great time. So I got crammed some training in as well. Wow. And seeing the guys in Paris, that one of them is a Cage Warriors champion, is in British promotion, Cage Warriors. Yeah. He's like the champ there. That's cool. And he was really good. And my friend Sammy, who's a pro MMA fighter who trained with us here in New York for a while, it was his group, and it was just unbelievable. I had a great time. It was like fantastic. But you know, seeing it was like my little thing was like seeing all these little things that have to do with martial arts. And so the whole time I was thinking of like, oh, is this position here? And then the other thing was I was thinking, I'll talk about later, but I saw the movie A Star Is Born on the plane. You know, that movie with Lady Gaga and all that. Yeah. And everybody's like, you know, this is a martial art. Why are we doing some rom-com? You know, and I didn't want to watch it.
It's a sad movie to watch on a plane, I think.
Yeah, it was sad. Anyway, so like I didn't want to watch it, right? Because, you know, I'm a man, and I'm first I'm watching this like documentary on SpaceX and this, and my wife turns on, and I'm like, all right, well, I should probably watch it. This looks kind of interesting, right? Of course, I'm bawling my eyes out halfway through. I'm like, what's that? It's a remake. You know, it's a remake of a
remake.
Yeah, a remake, right? Yeah, it's like a really old movie, and this version was like a lot more. I thought deeper than the old one. I think I'd seen the old one like when I was a kid. Yeah,
Chris
like
Christopherson and
no,
Barbra
I'm talking.
Streisand?
Yeah, no, but there was the one from like the 40s. Yeah,
never saw either.
Yeah. I never saw the one from the 70s, but I saw the one from the 40s. Oh. So it's like, you know, my mom and dad like old movie crap, you know, and I remember seeing the old one, and at least when I was a kid, right? Yeah. Like when I was 4 or something. And this is kind of interesting. But he has this one song, and because he's like a country singer, you know, and it's like time to let the old ways die. And it was like, I want to talk about it later in the podcast. It's kind of a theme of change. And you could see one time I was walking through the Louvre and the museum in France, and you could just see every art from every period, every art, like completely. And so you see like you're in this medieval time, and then you move the next section, it's Renaissance, the next one, this. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, we saw so much, my wife's a designer, we saw so much art on this trip. I mean, like, man, art up the kazoo.
Who planned the trip?
Oh yeah, who do you think? Not me. After the 50th museum, I'm like, this is very interesting, but I just want to like, yeah, no, we had good. Yeah, but like, I just want to watch. I was like, can we go watch Spider-Man? She's like, we're on the vacation. Why are we watching Spider-Man?
Watch it anyway.
Yeah, no, exactly, right. But she was like throwing stuff at me. But you know, you see this evolution of artistic technique over time, and you see how things evolve. And it made me interesting to think about martial arts. And sometimes you got to let the old ways die, you know, and evolve and go forward and change. And it was this kind of thing where like seeing all these different things, see things that are that never change, these fundamentals like knee on the belly. 5,000 years ago, the guys doing the same thing we did. I mean, not 5,000, but you know, whatever, 2,000, 4,000 years ago, whatever. And then you see some things that you're like, oh, right. That is not something that is modern. This is we've moved beyond this, and how there's important to evolve and go forward and constantly move into the modern era. And so it was like a trip there. I was kind of like really thinking about things and how to change. And that theme of that movie, A Star Is Born, is like, he can't change. You saw it, right? Yeah, like he can't change. He's a destructive behavior. So it's interesting. Remind me of a little bit of Luke Rockhold, like in the last fight. Luke Rockhold is like a guy like Aaron Pico. We talked about these guys are just so awesome in the training room, and they just can't put it together. They just can't make it happen. I mean, Luke Rockhold was a champion for a minute, but it's like, why is he so good? And his performance is so poor. It's like he's been knocked out so many fights. This is kind of like, what is he doing wrong in his life? What does he have to let go? What does he have to change? What is he not changing? And I know he changed camps, but it doesn't seem to have been helping him. It's something's wrong. And I think with him, it's also a little mental issue or something like that. But anyway, let's talk about the fights too. And then we can come back to this topic. So starting with, when I was there, we watched John Jones, your favorite fighter. And what'd you think about the
nail
John
biter?
Jones?
I mean, honestly,
It was a nail biter.
It didn't
really
feel
was.
like there was a clear winner until, he played a little more defensive in the 5th round.
It really was. I agree.
But he was chopping him down. Like Thiago
Santos
was really chopping at that leg. Like, there looked like some sort of big swelling on his thigh.
Huge. It was like this massive hematoma on his leg. And you could just totally see it.
I think it came out in like the 4th round, I think, was when it first really showed up.
Yeah, I don't know, but I noticed it. Yeah, for sure. Especially, yeah. And the thing was, did you hear what about Marreta's, Thiago Santos' nickname is Marreta, which means mallet. Did you see his diagnosis after the fight?
No.
So I posted on the Facebook page. Thanks for checking.
I'm not on Facebook.
Oh, that's right. But
put it on Instagram.
But I'll read it. I'll read it to you. This is this doctor's after they took the MRI and everything of his leg. I'm going to read it to you. So he fought the entire fight because it happened right in I believe in almost the first round, second round, in the beginning of the fight. And so this is what it is. Thiago Santos' post-fight MRI revealed a torn ACL,
oh my God,
MCL, PCL, and meniscus tear in the left knee. He spent most of the 5 rounds like that and got the first winning scorecard ever against John Jones. And the guy says, inhumanly tough. And that is true. Wow. I've never seen anyone do better against John Jones in 1 round.
No.
And the guy had every single ligament and a meniscus in his knee.
How is he standing?
How's he standing? You could see it. He was wobbling on that leg. And then he just kept kicking.
But performing. Like, not only standing, but
absolutely
performing. Wow.
And I actually am a big John Jones fan of John Jones in the ring. I am. Let's get that. But I was not a fan of how he approaches fight. And I think John Jones is falling into the trap a lot of grapplers have who get good at striking. Because takedowns especially, when you're fighting a guy who's bigger, they are draining. It is a lot, because people think, like, a lot of people ask, like, why is MMA gravitating towards striking more nowadays? And most of the grapplers today are like, well, because of the rules and this, and then, can't grapple because of time limit and blah, blah, blah. But that's kind of true. I wouldn't say it's not true, but there's also another thing is it's easier to punch and kick. It's just, especially if you have an efficient understanding of punching and kicking, it takes like less energy. Takes a lot of energy to shoot on a guy who's bigger than you and finish that takedown. It does. It takes a lot of energy, and it's draining. And so I think John Jones is like, dude, why am I going to expend a lot of cardio taking this guy down when I could just punch him in the face? And he's a lot of wrestlers, like another one, Justin Gaethje, who's actually, you wouldn't even think it, but has a wrestling background. The guy never shoots. He never just defensively wrestles. Another one is, Yoel Romero. Yoel Romero never shoots. Like, he never shoots. He just, like, explodes with a punch and then backs off. And you try to shoot on him, he'll stop. And once in a while, he'll take a guy down, but he never does. These guys, Yoel Romero is, like, freaking gold medalist in the Olympics. Why are they not? Because, like, they don't want to push the pace so much that they get tired. And striking is generally easier if you're decently good at it, or you have a sense of it, right? Again, I go back to George St. Pierre. I think he had a great concept. He does what people, instead of shooting a double or whatever, he pushes people against the cage too, and he'd tire them out in the cage and look for the cage takedown. And that was what Kamaru Usman did against Tyron Woodley. He just pushed him against the cage, and I think that's a strategy. I think I would have liked to see John Jones do more of that, and he did that in the last fight against Anthony Smith. And I would like to see him have done more of that. I think it was a really close fight. because he chose not to grapple. I don't know if he made a conscious choice to like see how tough the guy was or whatever.
I heard in a post-fight interview with John Jones that said he fought him in his wheelhouse.
Yes, he definitely did.
And he wanted to see if he could win.
Yeah.
And so I think that he said that if there is a rematch, which there should be, that he will not do that.
That's a lot of fighters do that. I was wondering, it's funny because I don't do the post-fight commentary too much, but I was wondering if that was the case. And I'm really glad you saw that. That's why it makes such a good team. But, some fighters do that. They're like, I'm going to go to in Japanese, they call it, aite no dohyo. Dohyo is the sumo ring. And you go into the opponent's ring and you see if you can beat him. It's a very, very Japanese thing to do. And it's very fucking stupid. But it is. It's like Japanese pro wrestlers, the hard pro wrestlers, the pro wrestlers who weren't fake, they would always say, okay, if the guy's a good, good at this, I'm going to go there and challenge him on his turf. And, man, that's an easy way to lose a fight.
Yeah.
I give him props, but it's not smart. It's more ego-based. It's not, it's one person I really respect who always had a game plan, even though I actually don't like his technique that much. Sounds weird, but Fedor Emelianenko. He always had a game plan, and up until like the end of his career now, but when he was, active, he was like, I'm going to do this game plan, I'm going to do this, and that's what I'm going to do. And I have no emotion. I'm going to be the fucking Terminator, like Stone Cold. And that is the way you want to have a fight. Is nothing changes your game plan. And the game plan is the smartest, most efficient way to do it. If you're better at grappling, just grapple him. But I understand that challenges. I think what makes a champion is on one side is MMA fighting champion is that, you have an iron will. And part of that iron will is also sometimes risk taking. And Donald Cerrone's like that. The guy does like jet skiing like the day before the fight. I'm like, this is crazy. This is like very illogical risk taking. But the two behaviors go together. Being attracted to fight sport and being attracted to like high risk, challenge. And I think sometimes high risk challenge is rewarding for its own sake. Why do people climb Mount Everest? Because it's high risk challenge. That's rewarding. So sometimes putting yourself in that stupid place to get to that sense of I'm challenging myself. That's sometimes important for fighters.
I don't have that in me because I'm always easy way out.
That is not true, Matt. You are a warrior, and it's funny. Like, you impress me, Matt.
But if I was like, if I had a UFC title, I don't think I'd risk it against Thiago Santos.
Right? Exactly. No shit. Now is the exact opposite of that is Tyron Woodley. Almost too much. So Tyron Woodley would just not take a chance ever.
Yeah.
Right? Like nothing, right? Jesus fucking Christ, man.
It's boring.
And, yeah. And it's also like not really relevant for combat because when you become so conservative, like you're not going to win a street fight just being a counter fighter. Like you have to engage sometimes. And, so I give John Jones credit. I give him credit. I mean, I would have liked to see him mix up. And basically this was a glorified kickboxing match. There was almost no grappling. So to me, that's less interesting than drawing from every style. So, that's why some of the fights are really fascinating.
I was engaged the entire time.
Yeah.
So it was a good fight.
No, it's interesting.
5 rounds that usually aren't exciting.
And it was close. No, it was close. And they're beating each other up. It was a technical fight. And man, Maheta is one tough guy. He's one tough guy. I just give total respect. I'm not like, actually, I'll be honest with you. I'm not like super in love with this technique. He's not bad, but I think more it's the physicality and he has that one punch knockout power and he almost dropped it. I mean, it was the first round, second round where he hit John Jones. John Jones was like, whoa, I got to respect this guy. It was like, holy shit.
After that diagnosis though, how long is he out before he can fight again?
A while. Probably has that knee surgery.
It's gotta be like almost a year.
Yeah, probably like that. You'd be surprised. I mean, like the modern medicine is amazing, but, and steroids. Which I think is
do some blood spinning.
Now let's go. But it was still a great fight. But let's talk about Holly Holm, Amanda Nunes. Did you see that fight?
I was rooting for Holly Holm.
Really?
Yes, the whole time.
Really? I wasn't rooting for anyone in particular. But why would you rooting for Holly Holm? Why is that? Just because she's American, or just because you like her, or like? I
liked Amanda Nunes until recently. Just for like outside of the ring antics.
What did she do?
I don't like when people are like when they get too full of themselves.
Yeah. Was she like that?
She was, yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
And it was
like I don't follow any of that. So.
Yeah, I wasn't too surprised at the result. But I was just rooting for Holm. I mean, I've really been a fan of Holly Holm ever since she knocked Ronda Rousey in a WWE. That was nice.
She knocked her into another sport.
Never to be seen again.
So one of my fighters, going to tell you, one of my fighters had a fight. I won't say the name, but he had a fight, and he beat his opponent, and the opponent doesn't fight anymore because he was arrested for some criminal activity. Oh. And my fighter says, "Yeah, I punched him into a life of crime." So it made me crack up. This is kind of sad, whatever. But it was a funny thing to say.
To think about.
Yeah, Holly Holm knocked.
What's the result after the last fight?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Nunez is obviously an amazing fighter, and that knockout was very clean and nice.
Yeah,
I loved it. Did you obviously thought Nunez was going to come out?
Yeah, no, but it was really interesting because one of the things that I noticed is, Holly Holm loves that stomping knee kick, the Pisau kick that John Jones does. But sometimes and side kick to the body, but sometimes she loves it too much. And what happened was the worst thing you do. So I'm going to ask you a question. What do you think is not MMA, but like every fighting sport, whether it's like arnis, fencing, kickboxing, boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, there's a couple universals that are important for every single combat sport, including shooting guns. Nick, can you think of, if you can, it's okay, but I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you think of one attribute that you would say, this is really important for for a fighter of any type?
Footwork?
That is very true. I would say footwork is really important. Maybe if you're shooting a gun, not as much important, but it could be. It depends if you're, but no, footwork is incredibly important. That is really true.
But not the answer we're looking for.
No. It kind of is related. No, it's not wrong. It's footwork. To have good footwork, you have to have balance. You have to be in balance.
Yes.
You have to. So actually, Matt, your answer was amazing.
That's what I meant. Balance. It was implied.
Well, I'll give you extra credit.
Read between the lines.
So you're right, though. In that footwork is important, and because it's important, is you can't have footwork and be off balance, right? And balance is key. Now, what she did is she lifted her leg up. Holly Holm lifted her leg up to do the side kick, the Pisau kick to the knee, but she kept it there and she was off balance. And Nunez was like, "You're going to stay there? Okay, I'm going to kick you in the head." Now, when you're off balance, you get hit, is one of the worst places to be. I always say, try to always off balance someone before you do something, right? And the founder of judo, Jigoro Kano, had these concepts of how to approach throwing. And he says, first thing you do is kazushi, which is balance breaking. Then when you break their balance, they become easier to throw. But the same thing is true for every single technique in fighting. Mm-hmm. So if I hit you with a really hard body shot and you bend over, and then I hit you with an uppercut, that uppercut is going to be much more powerful because you can't actually defend yourself when you're bent over and off balance. Mm-hmm. The worst time to get hit is when you're off balance. And Holly Holm was off balance, and that kick just came up and just knocked her into Iowa. Like, it was like, whoa. And I felt bad for her. And she just held that leg up. And I think Amanda Nunes really planned that. She's like, you love that kick, but you love it too much. And you leave it out there. And I think she really planned it, just waiting for it. Because it was like first round finish. So I think it was a question like she researched Holly Holm and maybe like found, one of the weaknesses that she does. Yeah. And it was amazing finish. Like, I did not think it would end so quickly. I did not think that. I thought Nunes would win, but I thought it was going to be a little bit longer,
I was surprised.
And the same thing with the Ben Askren. Okay, this was great. Okay, guess what? I have a wonderful joke.
Okay. Is it a pun?
It is a pun.
Okay. Everybody ready?
When you trash talk that much, you're just Askren for it.
Sounds good.
That was a good one, right? Yeah. I didn't make that up. But I did not make that up. I did not make that. I'm stolen. I'm a thief. You're just asking for it. It was really good. The trash talk that this guy shoveled before the fight was just nuts.
I heard someone say that the way this fight ended was the best result that Askren could ask for, because now he's going to get a rematch, and he didn't actually.
He's going to get a rematch?
I think he's going to get a rematch, and like it was like a fluke. Like Masvidal is an amazing fighter, and I'm sure he planned that, and he came out with it.
I posted. Did you see I posted? Or you didn't see it, but I posted him the day before in the ring practicing that exact move. Like there's a video of him doing it like 20 times, practicing.
Why was that? Why was nobody watching that?
I know. Right? It was in his warm up. No, I mean I think it was his trainers posted. It was filming, and then
they posted it later
afterwards. Yeah,
okay.
but that's him warming up. Like he completely 100% planned.
Yeah,
it. And it's obvious because, and he even said it in the post fight video. He's like Askren's shoots incorrectly for MMA. And that is a fact. His body is bent over at a 90-degree angle, and his head is exposed. And he does it all the time. And Askren is an amazing mat wrestler. He is amazing. I do not like Ben Askren, but on the mat, he's an anaconda. And he's really good, which is why I think he takes to submissions a little kind of easily, like chokes and stuff. But as a takedown guy, his fundamentals are not correct. That's just fact. His fundamentals, the body position is not correct. What he does is he jumps into the shot. He almost never gets the first double, but then he clinches with you, and then he wraps up like a snake on you, and then he kind of brings you down to the mat. So, but his body position for doubles is not really that good. What he does is he kind of uses it to get his body lock, and then he gets a trip, or he kind of he drags you to the mat, or whatever. He does what he does. But his initial engagement, just like Chrome Gracie used to do, the initial engagement strategy was very poor. And Masvidal was like, "I'm gonna knee you in the fucking face, motherfucker," you know. And you saw the same thing with the same mistake. The head is on the wrong side, meaning it's on the side of the leg back, and then you just eat the knee. The head, eat that knee. And Masvidal was like, "I'm gonna knee you in the face," and but you think people think of it as a fluke or?
I think that not a fluke. So obviously, he did say that he planned it, and you can't come out there and do a knee without planning it.
Right.
But
so you see how relaxed he was? His hands were behind his back and everything.
He just was like, "This is ending. I'm gonna go to Applebee's after this." But it was. I think he's gonna get a rematch because while it's not a fluke, it was like such a weird instance that people want to see
it again.
What the actual fight would look like. Let's see what the actual fight. And
people
are
let it
saying
play out a little bit more.
That Masvidal would have won either way.
Yeah, of course.
And that Askren got lucky that it ended that quickly because it would have been a brutal.
Yeah,
it would have been a brutal.
So he would have taken more damage.
Yeah.
Is Askren going up for the rematch?
I haven't heard, but I'm sure he wants one. We were watching the Embedded, and my wife and I were watching it, and he came on the screen, and she's like, "I think he's taken too many hits to the head."
Oh, because he talks so slowly. Yeah. No, that's a good question.
Southern? I don't even know where he's from. No offense to Southern people.
No, I don't know where he's from, but he has that he has that way of speaking that sounds almost punchy. You're right, and sometimes I don't know if he is punchy, but he has that way of speaking where he is very slow and measured. Maybe it's just the way he's speaking. No disrespect. I mean, I don't
know much about him, but my wife just made that observation.
No, for sure.
It was her, not me. I think.
No, but there's some fighters. There's some fighters who you can see the degeneration of their speech patterns over time. Yeah. One of them is Tony Ferguson. Not Tony Ferguson. The one from Hawaii, Max Holloway. My wife said that too. He's like, I'm like, is it the Hawaiian accent or is it? But then you look interviews with him like a year before, and you're like, oh, this guy's been taking some punishment, man. His speech patterns are slower, which is very sad. That's the problem when you are a striking based fighter. You take a lot of punishment. But I would love to see Askren just get the shit kicked out of him again. Why not? Let's see it again. Yeah, let's see it again. Like the beginning of what's the guy he fought before? Who choked out? Who was controversial? Robbie Lawler. The beginning of Robbie Lawler, Ben Askren was like really rough. That was old school Valley Tudo style. Like just slapping him on his head, and it was pretty amazing. But that whole card was really a really good card. One guy on that card who was somewhat new to the UFC was Edmund Shabazian. This is really good. This guy he's undefeated, and I'm going to make a prediction. This guy is going to be in the mix soon, and he fights 185, and he's 10-0, and this is his third fight in the UFC, but he was on the Dana White's Contender Series thing, and this last one he fought Jack Marshman, who was he has 30 over 35, 34, 35 fight, 33 fights, something like that. 32 fights. 23 wins. So he has double plus the amount of wins and way more, 3 times the amount of fights. And he just showed amazing grappling. First round, back mount finish. It was just just beautiful display of efficient grappling, and it was a great fight.
What do you think of Diego Sanchez fight? I didn't see that one, but I saw that he'd lost, and I was kind of surprised.
No, and Michael Chiesa really outgrappled him. I'll be honest, I only saw the highlights.
Yeah.
So
I didn't watch it all.
We were in London, and so we were like it was the next day, we were trying to download it, find it, and we had trouble finding all the fights. But that one I only saw the highlights, but it looked like Michael Chiesa ran a grappling clinic on him. Oh. And Diego Sanchez is a very good grappler. I mean, but Chiesa he's legit, and he is very, very very skilled grappler, and I like the way he approaches the game. So, and then there was Jan Blachowicz versus Luke Rockhold, and that was just that was
sad.
Yeah, it was bad. And they that it was the left hook that caught him. But the funny thing is, and I say this all the time, this was Jan Blachowicz. It's like one of the reasons. I was telling a student today, saying this because the student's training boxing somewhere else, and he said, look, boxing's great. There's nothing wrong with it. Muay Thai's great. But if you want to do MMA, you have to train MMA. You're not going to see the transitional moments. And Luke Rockhold he kind of relaxes too much in these transitional moments. The second time I've seen him just get cracked off of the break from a clinch. So he's clinching and they broke, and it was that hook that just caught him. So it wasn't striking and it wasn't grappling. It was a combination of the two. The same way Cormier dropped Stipe Miocic. It wasn't pure striking and it wasn't pure grappling. It's this in-between zone. Yeah, it's a transition. And it seems like Luke Rockhold kind of like when he wrestles, he looks good. When he does jiu-jitsu, he looks great. When he does striking, he looks great.
When he models Calvin Klein's, looks amazing.
Is he?
No, he's not amazing. He's an attractive man.
Yes, actually, we discussed that before. Some people have said that they watch MMA. He was the one dating the girl who does
Britney Spears.
No,
I don't know. Rihanna.
No, she's
Beyonce.
She's she does jiu-jitsu.
Demi Lovato.
Demi Lovato, right? He was dating. I think he's the one who got her into it.
Oh.
Or something like that.
He'd also get into alcohol too.
I hope not. I know he's pretty.
I'm sure. I'm just messing with.
No, she. It's a tortured life. I guess it's tough being a
musician.
Right? Like a Star is Born. But when he looks good in all these individuals, and same with Aaron Pico. Aaron Pico is like one of the best wrestlers. On the circuit, trains with Freddie Roach in boxing, and yet in the transitions, in the dirty boxing transition, he gets molested. Is because Freddie Roach, amazing coach, one of the best boxing coaches there is. One of the best. He is not an MMA coach. Your wrestling coach is not an MMA coach. Your jiu-jitsu coach is not an MMA coach. You need someone to oversee. And, while Kamaru Usman did very, very well, and that Hard Knocks 360 camp is doing well, I still think that sometimes the guys demonstrated from that camp some blind spots in the transitions. And especially Henry Hooft is a great coach. The guy is a great coach. You can't have champions that many great coach, but he's still a Muay Thai guy at heart. And I think, he's missing some of the blind spots of his fighters. These fighters have these blind spots in the transitions. This could be that. I'm not sure. Look, I'm not there on a daily basis in that camp. So I don't want to talk bad about Henry Hooft because I have a lot of respect for him. But I've seen number of guys from certain camps not be aware of the transitions, even though they're really good strikers, even though they're really good rappers. It's like the in-between is not there.
I think Dana White said that he hopes that Rockhold retires.
Really?
Which is surprising.
Really? Just because he's taking a lot of punishment or something? Or?
Yeah. It was about the punishment. He's just been knocked out too many times.
Yeah, that's true. Like a lot.
Mm-hmm. Is he a good actor? Has he been in anything? Because he seems like he'd be good in
something, yeah.
Something like a Mortal Kombat movie.
I think what he needs to do, and there's some fighters who need to take a little sabbatical. And maybe that's why he stopped doing an AKA and he started moving over to through Hard Knocks. I don't know why he left that the AKA fight, but he moved over to Hard Knocks 360 in Florida, and I would really wondering why he switched over, but
let's try to get him on the show.
We'll ask him. And you're something in these transitions is missing. It could be, and also he's sometimes a little I want to say arrogant, but he's like, I'm better than you, so I don't have to take you take your threat seriously, and then boom, he gets knocked out. And he's like kind of like, I don't want to say arrogant because I don't know what's going through his head, but he kind of drops his hands and doesn't take the fighter, his opponent, as seriously as you should. You know?
Yeah, our favorite person, Chael Sonnen, did a recap of the Rockhold fight, and that was his main takeaway. It's just his hands. Keep your hands up.
Keep your hands up. Right. But in this, but I'll tell you, he's right. He's absolutely right. But you can't keep the hands up when you're pummeling in the clinch.
Mm-hmm.
Like my hand is underneath your armpit, and then, but that's that point where you're pushing away, where you're making distance, and your hand is down, and then the guy can punch you in the face because your hand is down because you're grappling. That's the transition. You have to be aware of that. So that's why when I have fighters, whenever we're clinching, I have them use a whizzer, make a frame, so the forehand can't hit them because or when you break off, you punch first from your overhand, so that you know that when you break the clinch, you're very, very vulnerable unless you whizzer the guy down and break his balance first.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of an interesting,
Last time I whizzed on a guy, I got arrested.
Whizzer is a control of the shoulder where you kind of spin the guy down.
Yeah, we all know that. Uriah Faber.
Oh my God! Yes. Okay, so speaking of the fight card for Randomly Lad, this was the night of massive upsets, and so first of all, you had Emmett and Mirsad Bektic, and I think a lot of people were expecting Bektic to win, and Emmett just molested him. It was like amazing. It was an amazing fight. It was really, really cool. It was like, and he dropped Bektic with the jab. He dropped him with the jab. So he jabbed him really hard. And it was funny. I was talking to my wife, and she's like, "Wow, these fighters, they seem like the other fighter, not Emmett." She's like, "He seems to have a lot of power," and she's not wrong. Bektic is a powerful guy, but I'm like, don't sleep on Emmett. He has power too. But he drops him with the jab. Then he starts dominating the position, and this is statistically, I was telling my fighters all the time. Bektic tries to come up, goes to the 4 points turtle position, so hands and knees are on the floor, and then Emmett hits him with the most vicious uppercut, and that is statistically speaking, one of the number 1 finishes in MMA. Uppercut from turtle, and that was what Cormier dropped Anthony Johnson with. That's what Fedor's first loss was when it was against Dan Henderson. Like the uppercut from turtle, you can't see it. You're a little again off balance. Bop! It just hit him, and it just knocked him, into the solar system. It was just, it was that uppercut was the coup de grace. It was just bang. And speaking of which, it's funny because there's so many sculptures. I was talking about sculptures. Where there's so many sculptures we saw where guys were attacking other guys and putting them in turtle and dominating from that position because it's like a 3,000-4,000-year-old position.
Man, you know how much of a pain in the ass it has to be to like pose for that for 4 hours? As the guys like sculpting. I'm like, are you done yet? I'm cramping up over
that.
here.
That might be that's kind of interesting. I wonder how they would do it. He probably did like a quick sketch and then did the sculpture off the sketch.
That's true. That's easy.
No, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the guys did model for that. Mm-hmm. I mean, imagine modeling that, especially they're like Kimuring the guy. A couple of them were the guys came like, how can you beat a Kimura for like 3? Exactly. Right. The guy's like, no, stay there 1 more minute. You're destroying the guy's shoulder. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. I don't know anything about art, but yeah, I mean, like, because people do pose for sculptures. I don't really know. That's a good question. And yeah, because a lot of the ones, the guy's in turtle and he has an arm lock or something. I don't think you can't hold that position for an hour. But so anyway, that was Mirsad Bektic and Emmett, and then the other one was Faber versus Simon, and everybody thought Faber was done. They thought he was done, but I knew he was going to come back before. I knew he was going to come back.
How long has it been since he fought? It was
2016.
Holy
3 years.
Moly, that's
3
a
years.
long time.
You know what?
No rust.
Yeah, no rust. I mean, but he's probably in the gym training with the guys all day.
Sure,
yeah, but the other thing is, he had a lot of injuries to heal up. And I think also he was burnt out with the whole TJ thing. And then the other thing is I think he didn't fight because before TJ quit, he's like, he doesn't want to fight his own guys. But now that TJ left him, he's like, man, I can go back in because I don't have to worry about fighting. I can, fighting my own guy because he's not my own guy anymore. And then he healed up. And then, I think Dana White really probably convinced him because, Henry Cejudo called Uriah Faber out. In this last fight, remember he called Uriah Faber out? And Uriah Faber's retired. Like, why are you calling Uriah Faber out? So probably Dana White's like, bring him back because there's 2 huge money fights. There's Henry Cejudo versus Uriah Faber, which everybody is going to want to see, even if Uriah Faber's been a while, because he's a legend. Even if Henry Cejudo is like more prepared. But I think what the real money fight is Uriah Faber versus TJ Dillashaw. When TJ comes back from the suspension, give Uriah Faber like a year to get back into it, and get rebeg and then Uriah Faber's the TJ Dillashaw suspension is going to finish, and then it's like the biggest money, like the biggest grudge match fight you've ever seen.
Oh my god!
Like I mean, like I don't even like drama, and I want to watch
bigger than Kobe coming.
I know, right? It's huge. It's like amazing. Like these guys. I mean, like I don't even like drama, and I'm like hooked. So he's like, there's two major fights that probably Dana White said, look. You want to fight this guy anyway because he betrayed you, and now you can make like enough money to support your your lifestyle for the rest of your life. You could probably make like $20 million in one night. So why not do it? And then he could also maybe fight Cejudo for the title eventually too.
Do it both in the same night.
Yeah. They're like Goldstein Gracie. Well, 5 fights in one night.
Yeah.
But I knew he was gonna come back when Cejudo called him out. I'm like, oh, there's something going back in the scenes to bring him back, and it makes sense. And he's good. He's not really done. You can tell he's not done. He's 40 years old, but grapplers have much more longevity, and he has not taken that much punishment. He's a slick fighter who defends himself well. He does not a lot of brain damage. He's
very small, so he probably doesn't wear too much on his knees, size wise.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I think also, years of wrestling might have worn down his knees too, just because wrestling is tough on knees. But no, you're right. You're right. I mean, I don't really know. But he's in great shape, and he trains. I saw a video of him training with his guys, and he'll look great. 40 as a grappler, is not the end of your career. It's not, especially in the lighter weight. Like you don't have to worry about. You said getting punched in the face with so much power and carrying that much weight. It's different. So he looks great. Yeah, no, I'm very excited. I can't wait. And then the last one was Rene versus Ladd, which was like just total, mismatch. And I was just even surprised they brought Rene back. I guess they're not afraid of fighting Cyborg anymore or something. I don't know. But that's the problem with the women's division is that it's just not as filled. The bench is not as filled as the male division. So sometimes you're just going to have mismatches. It is what it is. Sometimes that's going to happen, and that was you can't really say because Ladd had a good record, but it was a beautiful 1-2 overhand. It was basics, and Rene is just a much better striker. Just the way Ladd moves, she's not in the same same level of striking yet. So that was that. It was a great night of fights. But
I don't see anything coming up that's really gotten me super excited.
No, there's some good stuff coming up, right? Yeah, we could
Holloway.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good fight.
Yeah, there's some good. Yeah, it's Frankie Edgar versus Max Holloway. That's gonna be an interesting fight. And
Chris Cyborg fighting somebody named Felicia. I don't know.
I have no idea.
I'm just judging it based on the names.
Yeah.
My mom used to pick football teams based on which animal could beat the other one.
That's funny. But anyway, so I want to circle back to what we started the podcast with like the concept and Luke Rockhold, he has to change, he doesn't change, or the kind of like sometimes you have to let the old ways go.
You can sing, please.
I can't. You don't want me to sing. We'll lose all our subscribers. Right. I'd let the old ways go.
Bye, everybody.
But the person, John Will, who's a famous, really pioneering jiu-jitsu fighter and amazing coach in Australia, built basically one of the pioneers of the Brazilian jiu-jitsu scene in Australia, and one of the Dirty Dozen, the first 12 non-Brazilians to get a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I happen to have a very small acquaintance with him and just tremendous respect for him. But he said something amazing, just absolutely amazing. And I got his permission to discuss it. And he said, you must be a murderer. Every person to grow must be murdered. And the thing you have to murder, you have to be a killer. You have to kill your old self. You have to grow. To grow, you have to kill the old you. So every move forward is fighting the old you. And it's really interesting because the minute he said that, there's an article that came out in the New York Times, which is talking about the latest psychological research. And the actual research is on procrastination. But it goes back, and I'm going to read this to you. It's really interesting, but it dovetails with exactly what he's saying. And I'm going to read it to you right now. So this is Dr. Hirschfeld, and he has this massive research on procrastination. But he says on a neural level, and they're doing all these fMRI studies scanning the brain. He's like, we perceive our future selves more like strangers than actually as a part of ourselves. So when we procrastinate or when we try to change or whatever, parts of our brain actually think that the task we're putting off and the accompanying negative feelings that await us on the other side are somebody else's problems. To make things worse, we're even less able to make thoughtful, future-oriented decisions in the midst of stress. So when faced with a task that makes us feel anxious or insecure, the amygdala, the threat detector part of the brain, perceives that task as being a genuine threat, in this case to our self-esteem and well-being. Even if we can intellectually recognize that putting off the task will create more stress for ourselves in the future, our brains are still wired to be more concerned with removing the threat in the present. This is called the amygdala hijack. And I've seen this over and over again in the academy. So what we're doing in martial arts is we're changing you. We're changing you as a person. So Matt, you come into my academy, you say, Rene, I want to walk that Bruce Lee lifestyle. I want to use training to become a much better version of myself. And I'm like, okay, cool. So they start training. It gets hard. Boom, boom, boom. Just as they are about to make this massive jump, and you can see it, they're just getting ready to get that massive jump to be a totally different person, different fighter, a much better version of themselves, they quit. Happens all the time. All the time. The minute they're about to jump into some other place, they quit. Because the old self is fighting back. The amygdala is hijacking your brain and saying, no. This future thing is scary. It's a threat. Change is threatening. Growth is threatening. The old way is comfortable, but comfort is not where the growth goes. The old way is comfortable. The new way is scary. We have to avoid stress and scariness. And, I want to ask you a question. When you started this business, was it like scary? Did you have some sleepless nights?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty freaking scary being a business owner.
Didn't sleep pretty good last night.
No, but I mean like quitting your job,
Yeah.
your old job, and starting and being your own entrepreneur. Like probably one of the toughest things you've done in terms of like a gut check, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would you, I mean, you don't have to agree with me.
No, 100%.
Yeah, right. And we ever have times where like, oh, I don't know if I should do this. Do you ever doubt yourself or something like that?
Every of the month, I think about giving up.
And that's exactly it. It's every time. That's the amygdala talking.
Mm-hmm.
That's your brain talking because it likes the comfort of the old you, even though that life sucks. But sometimes we choose the sucky, comfortable life. Mm-hmm. That being miserable in comfort is actually like preferable to making a leap to the unknown. And I have one student, and that student is phenomenal. And but the student is struggling a little because it's different being in a martial arts academy that is very combat oriented. And I have so much respect for the student, but the pressure's on and it's a lot of students that one included. They're very tough on themselves, not comfortable with making mistakes sometimes, not comfortable with blossoming into something new and different. And especially when you're dealing with violence and it can be very overwhelming. And, kind of had an emotional moment the other day because it was very overwhelming. And I like total respect. It's happened so many times to me, but it's going to that jump to the next level, to grow, to move forward. It is not easy, but it's worth it on the other side. But you also have to understand, you're not just fighting the good fight on the mat with your training and this, you're also fighting a part of yourself. Your old self, that comfortable self, likes existing. And you got like, no, I have to murder you. And that's hard. You have to be murdered. And I'll tell you a little bit about my background. And I've been in martial arts for a long time. So I started out in actually karate. And, a lot of people stay in their own traditional styles and they all do this and this. One of the hardest things I ever did was put down black belt and put on a white belt. And I've done that a few times. And I'll tell you, it does get easier over time, but it's not easy. When you're the man in one style and you're comfortable and everybody respects you, and then you go to another academy and you're dog shit, it is not a good feeling,
Right.
you know, but you have to like find a way to do it, you know, and I don't even know how I did it. I think it was just like, I have an internal quest for learning and, you know, I don't know, but it was hard. It was hard. And sometimes harder than others. And I'll be embarrassed to say this, but when I was first doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, especially going from karate, from striking to grappling was not so hard because I'm like, oh, I'm just adding skills, right? You can kind of mentally rationalize that. You know, you're like, I'm not quitting karate. I'm not quitting this, but I'm adding skills, you know? And then, but going from judo to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was hard because I was also a ground guy in judo. I was a ground guy, you know, I did a lot of ground. So saying that what you did before was not as valuable as what you're doing now, and now it's time to read, is a really hard pill to swallow. It's really fucking hard. And that old guy says, no, what you did before had value, and fuck those new guys, fuck those Gracies, fuck their bullshit, fuck their arrogance, saying they're better than, you know, the judo guys or this or that. And you know, that was me. If you met me in 1995, I'd be like, you know, Gracies are good, but they're not better than judo. You know, judo armbar, Gracie jiu-jitsu armbar, same. And that's not really true. It can be true. It can be true depending on the fighter, but generally speaking, it's not. You know, there's certain levels of technical excellence that are more refined in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and certain techniques, and the general concept of efficiency is a little bit higher on the ground, and it's a different art. You know, so you know, going from that from judo to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and just getting the snot beat out of me in the beginning, you know, it was so hard, and I rationalized it, and I said, I'm just cross training. I'm like, it's like, kind of embarrassing to say, but I was like, I'm just cross training. I'm just here in this academy. I'm not going to rank in jiu-jitsu because I don't really need to rank jiu-jitsu. I just don't have enough partners. So I'm going to cross train with these guys. So I'm just going to like go here to get the movement, the rolling that I want, but I'm still a judo guy. I'm a judo guy. Everything I did before in judo has value. And these Gracies are just people I compete against. I don't need to learn from them. That was how I kind of started a little bit. Now, there's a part of me that said, that's a load of shit. But I had enough of that to like make the jump in. And then when I was in, over time, I kind of like, oh, that's so stupid. Just give it up. Just give it up. And it took me time to say, there was some value in what I did, for sure. But this is better. Time to put on the white belt. Put that ego away and let the old ways go. And it was hard, though. It was hard. And then also going into MMA it wasn't the same ego thing, but to say that, oh, now a lot of my jiu-jitsu I have to retool and relearn. A lot of my grappling I have to redo. A lot of my strike, like I have to rethink everything. It was hard. It wasn't as much the ego thing because it was more internal, but it was hard. It was hard, you know. But you know, it's necessary for growth. And like I said, it's like so many people quit just the moment they're about to blossom. That happens all the time in the academy. Like I see it all the time. They're just about to go. This happened recently. This person trained with me for a while. And I said to him, you need to do this, this, and this to grow. You need to do this. And if you don't do this, your life will not be like, you're not reaching your potential. Not just in martial arts, but his life, because he has a lack of self-esteem a little bit, and he walks through life a little bit less sure of himself. And I said, you must face this challenge to grow. And you have to do it. And he was just about to get there. And he got a little injured in a tournament. I think it really scared him. And he pulled back. And I'm like, no, you need to do this. And I'm like, if you want to train here, you have to do this. This is your growth path. And then he quit. And he trained somewhere else. And I understand that. I had to put that choice before him because I said, look, you need to grow like this. Without this path, you're wasting your time. You got to do this. And I put the choice for him, and maybe I could have communicated a little better, but I kind of knew that this is where he needed to be. And he was really close to just going to that next level and just breaking through, but he didn't do it. I was very disappointed, but everybody walks their own path, and maybe he'll find someone else to make him grow in another way. But I've seen this path 100 times, and it's literally just before they're going to make that massive eureka moment in their training. And then they go. And because they're fighting the inner demon, not demon, but the inner, that threat. The future is the threat. The unknown is the threat. The looking stupid in front of everybody is the threat. That's a threat. That's this threat. The future is unknown, but this threat right here is real. What I feel right now is real. My anxiety. And you have to find a way to deal with that and see it for what it is. And I think the first step is to understand how the brain works. And we have neurological data that shows the brain is fighting itself. You're fighting your stress neurons, your limbic system, the threat. Boom, boom, boom. There's a threat. Wait, danger, Will Robinson. There's danger here. And you gotta be like, no. Okay, there's some danger, but we're gonna fight that danger. We're gonna use that. This is a moment of growth. And it's very important for every martial arts student is that sometimes when you feel that anxiousness, especially when it comes to competition. So I think everybody should compete. It doesn't even matter what martial art you do, but eventually MMA, but if you compete jiu-jitsu, judo, wrestling, or whatever, anything, karate, the amount of anxiety you feel is not fucking fun, man. It is not fun. It's fun having the gold medal around your back. It's fun, but it's not fucking fun losing. And it's not fucking fun, like, up until that point. And so and for me, when I competed, a lot of times I would choke. I would not perform because the sense of threat of looking stupid or this or just doubting myself or this was so much I could never overcome it to kind of be in the zone. And I never enjoyed competition. Never enjoyed it. Except later on when I was doing MMA. Actually, I wouldn't say I was having fun, but my brain was in a different mental state. It was like something different. I can't even put my finger on it. I don't really know. But I think it was sort of like I just had to do it. I don't even know what brought it to me, but it was not the same as when I competed in jiu-jitsu or judo or karate or the other arts I competed in, taekwondo. I never enjoyed it. Never had a good time. It was like pulling teeth. MMA was my choice. And I didn't have that same feeling of pulling teeth. I wouldn't say I was like, oh, this is hunky-dory fun. But at the same time, I had more of a control of my threat response. Maybe it's just because I was older. But it was still hard. I was scared out of my pants every single fight. But I had to step through that fire and grow to be a better fighter, be a better martial artist. Yeah. But I think everybody's on that growth path. And martial arts, what is it? It's a path of growth. And sometimes you see like guys in the ring, they're just totally stagnating. Like they're not willing to go to those uncomfortable places. They're not recognizing the future self is where they need to be. They're staying with the present self. And that's true, I think, in everything, Sometimes you got to deal with those scary things to get to a better place. I think you always do. I think that's absolutely everything we want in life is on the other side of fear. It's a great quote that I like. Yeah. I think I mentioned that before. But there's some fighters where, like Luke Rockhold, maybe is in that situation where he's just not going to where he needs to go. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that I noticed just again, it goes back to that thing of the old ways have to die. It's, I was a traditional guy in the karate world. And, going to France, I did the seminar, and one of the things in the seminar was so great. It was, we saw lots of guys from different backgrounds training together. And, it seems like there's so many fighters who are not doing well, in the traditional world, and the traditional world is kind of being replaced by the MMA world. Like people are much more enthusiastic about mixed martial arts than they are about sport karate. Mm-hmm. I mean, like it's not even like you don't even hear it, or even judo. Like you don't really hear about judo in America unless you're actively competing or taekwondo or whatever. But everyone knows about MMA, and it's not just because it's pro. It's just something more interesting. Mm-hmm. And again, it like reminds me of that evolution of like the art in the museum I saw. It's like this old ancient, form of, art, and it moves here into the Renaissance painting and this and all these different styles and each individual artist. And it was great because we were watching, we were going the different, watch the Impressionists and you see Picasso, Manet, and especially Manet was Impressionist, and you see him grow as an artist, and each iteration of him is a different person. Like his the way he painted in this stage is here, and the way he painted in this stage here. And Picasso went through his blue stage or his green stage, and every artist grows. And the same thing is true. It's like if you're stuck as a karate guy or you're stuck in your karate world, it's not interesting, right? You're stuck in this world, you don't grow. You're this little tiny little pond, and you're this little frog or fish in this tiny little pond, and that world is not the larger world. You got to jump out of that pond into the ocean, and MMA is the new way. And you know, I just saw like, oh, you're stuck in this place. And the funny thing is, talking about artists, like there was this famous story that I found. I didn't know about this, but you know, the original art instructors in the Paris art schools hated all these like impressionist painters. They hated them, and they were never. So what the impressionists did was they had their own art show, and then everybody's like, "Oh my God, these guys are amazing." Mm-hmm. But the old teachers were stuck in the mud, and they like didn't want to recognize how good they were. And the same thing happened to Einstein. You know, Einstein was like this amazing guy, and his original teacher was like, "You're a freaking idiot." No, the smartest guy in the world, the old stuck in the mud teacher, doesn't want to admit that Einstein's theories, which blow everybody out of the water, weren't true. So we're always going to have these old ways, because the old guys perceive the new stuff as a threat. And you can't see it like that. You have to see it as an opportunity. And, you know, like people stuck in the karate world or this world or that world, they perceive MMA as a threat. Like, why are you perceiving this as a threat? It's not a threat. It's a threat because it's new, it's unfamiliar, it's uncomfortable. And your amygdala, your limbic system is seeing it. No, it's making you uncomfortable. You don't know this. This is a threat. You know, this is anxiety because you're insecure and this and that. No, just take the jump and move. And it's true on an individual level as a martial artist. It's true on a group level. You know, I would like to see every single style of martial arts compete in MMA, because that would be the beneficial for everyone. But anyway, that was my take on that. I hope I didn't bore you too much. I can see your eyes glassing over.
No, we gotta let stuff die.
Yeah, you gotta let it die.
You gotta kill it.
You have to kill it.
You can't just let it die. If it dies of old age, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
And you gotta murder it.
You have to murder it to grow.
Murder the past.
Murder your old self.
Murder your old self. Don't murder someone else's old self. Just let them be.
No, you know what?
No, you got to murder everybody.
Help them murder themselves.
Serial killer.
No, that's
become a serial motivator.
That is serial motivator. No, because that's what happened to me. Is that I rolled with, this is a long time ago. I was still in Japan. I rolled with Sal Ribeiro because he came to visit Japan, and it was just, oh my God. It was like this oh my God moment where, wow, this is different. This feels different, and always it helped me murder myself. He was the first murderer.
He gave you the knife.
He gave me the knife. Yes, exactly. He passed along the knife, but growth is always uncomfortable. Yeah. And there are moments where it's not fun.
Yeah.
But the other side is so rewarding, so gratifying that you got to go through the slog. Mm-hmm. You know, you got to go through the
So don't give up.
Yeah.
You're almost there. You listening to this right now, you're almost there.
Right.
Don't give up.
And I mean, that's exactly right. Like, the minute you want to give up is probably meaning when you're almost there. Yeah. And like the person who quit recently, and then purpose, I see some people on that, they're just about to explode into this amazing growth potential, and then they're gone. And you're like, oh, it's too bad. Almost. This is probably 90% of the time people quit at that moment. It's weird. But anyway, that's it's interesting and weird and sometimes sad too. Because you're like, your life is so much better once you just make that last jump. Yeah. Maybe not the last jump, but the first huge jump, you know. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so yeah, I'm excited for Holloway and Frank Edgar. And I think Holloway's going to just dominate him. But
yeah, I think so too.
But Edgar's always tough. That's a guy who takes a little too much punishment, but he's always tough. But I think Holloway's a just different class fighter. But I'm also worried about Holloway's amount of trauma he takes is worrying. But anyway, we'll see what happens. So do you want to make another bet? We didn't make a bet on the last one, right?
No, we both agreed that Jones would win.
Yeah.
I don't know what we got to bet.
No, we'll figure it out.
Murder each other?
No. Oh no, I got more stuff. You still have to slap me.
I did slap you as best I could.
All right.
I have to murder my old self before I can slap you.
Oh, you know what it is? I'll bet if you win, if I win, you have to come and train with me for an hour privately.
An hour?
Yes, 1 hour private. So you got to murder your old self. You have to do some martial arts with me for an hour. Private lesson. That's if I win.
If I win?
No, if I win, I get that. I get it. If you win, you get to do whatever you want. You're like, whatever you say.
Do my dishes.
Do your dishes, absolutely. I'll go over and do your dishes.
That's weird.
Clean out your dog's,
yeah.
Come take care of it. Take the dog for
Yeah. You'll take Miles' dog for the weekend. Have you seen Miles' dog? I don't think you've been here since you've been.
No.
All right. He's got a cute dog.
Oh, wow.
You guys can't see it, but it's cute. It's not here right now. I don't know. All right. That's the end of the show.
That's the end of the show. It was a good show. I thought it was good.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, and we okay. Next show, 100%. We're gonna announce the winner of the people who gave the review for and we're gonna pick a winner to give out the Killer Collective. So we're gonna do the winner next one, and then we're gonna say who the reviewer was, and then you have to contact us and give us our address. But we're gonna save it for next one.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we had a few more really nice reviews, but the next week we'll look at all the new ones and we'll pick a winner.
People are saying nice things.
They're very nice things.
That's nice.
And it's cool because I go off to England and Jalal, my friend, is listening, and he could persuade a few other people to listen to our podcast. And like you said, in Singapore we're really big.
Yeah.
And it's really, really awesome, and I'm very happy that we have all those listeners out there.
Well, thanks everybody for listening and saying nice things. I like nice things. Don't say mean things. I don't like mean things. I can't handle it. I haven't killed that part of me yet. Don't say mean things. Send them to Rene. He's
I'm
stable.
okay with the mean things.
Yeah, he can handle it. I can't. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening. Follow us on Twitter at Marshall_Culture and on Instagram at MarshallCultureCast. Please leave a review on iTunes, and we'll see you next time on the Marshall Culture Podcast.